thyself unto the prudent and the wise are those with ego. That is, those who are prudent and wise according to worldly standards of outward consciousness. God doesn't have much use for them, because it says he doesn't reveal himself to those kind of people. But who does he reveal himself to? Thou dost reveal thyself unto babes. Now, children or babes have what sort of a consciousness? They have a consciousness, a humble consciousness, a consciousness without guile. That's the important thing. Those people, God does reveal himself to. And we have scriptures to this effect. In Nathaniel, in St. John, the first chapter. St. John, the first chapter, 47th verse. We read this. Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him, and he said, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. He might have said, in whom the ego has been eliminated, in whom the ego has been thrown out, in whom the ego has been superseded by that great, humble, spiritual consciousness of God himself. And then he goes on to say, in the 51st verse, because you have done this, Nathanael, because you are without guile and have eliminated, eradicated the ego consciousness, which is in itself nothingness, because you have done that, he says, Verily I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. So you see, it is so important in eliminating this number one enemy of God, the ego, to have the consciousness of faith, guilelessness, and that comes only with full surrender to God. Then you realize your nothingness. Then you realize that you are nothing. That is, you as ego can do not a thing. But when that consciousness of God comes, and that humbleness before his majesty, before his great light flows in upon you, then you realize why ego is the number one enemy of God. Now going on a bit, let us consider for a few moments the audacity of ego. The audacity of egoism. Here we have the bodily kingdom right within us, which is run not by ego. The ego, if they run it, it is not run by ego at all. It is run through the intelligence of the soul. From the throne of the brain and the six other centers of the spine comes the intelligence of God to run this bodily machine, this bodily kingdom. And there we have, throughout the body, billions of cells, which, by the intelligence of the soul, perform their various functions properly, taking up and performing their various duties to run this organism. And we have the various systems of the body, the nervous system, the circulatory system, the excretory system, formed from those cells. How? Through the intelligence of the soul within. And then we also have, through those systems, the vegetative functions of the body performing all their intricate works to keep this body in proper harmony. That goes on how? Through the intelligence of God within us, the soul. And then to cap the whole climax, we have 50 million phases of consciousness as astral rays and thoughts and emotions going on in order under the intelligence of the soul. So don't you think it's the height of egotism to presume governorship of this body and this entity we have? begin to indulge in ego consciousness, when you think of those things? That's why. That's why when you begin to have an insight into the power of God within you as the soul and its activities and the intelligence shown there, then the ego can't stand at all. The ego has to go when you feel and realize the greatness, the majesty of God within. That's one of the greatest ways to get rid of the ego, is to look within through introspection and get a glimpse of the power of God within you and what is going on. Then the ego crawls away, eliminates itself. Now, God will increase. This part of the talk I like very much. God will increase as the ego decreases. So if you see a person with a great big ego, don't waste too much time. Be nice to him, be good to him, love him. He's a child of God. But don't be attracted too much, because you can write it right down as an absolute fact. That as the ego increases, God withdraws. And so likewise, God will increase as the ego decreases. We have a wonderful reference to this point in St. John, the 3rd chapter, the 30th and 31st verses. Soul consciousness or Christ